Hello viewers, welcome to my show, The Middleman. I am Shafiq Ahmed. Today we are going to talk about our retirement planning. Being in business as a financial professional for the last 2 decades, I have witnessed and seen not too many people in my community has a very clear idea about retirement goal and objective. They say to retire comfortably here in Canada, you need a systematic financial plan and retirement goal. We might think free healthcare system, government support may be enough to secure our retirement life. But in reality, it is not that simple. To check the retirement reality, today I have invited Tyler Atkinson. Tyler Atkinson, a senior financial consultant with IG Wealth Management. With his intensive knowledge, today he will explain us our retirement objectives and retirement goals. So let's talk Tyler Atkinson. So hi Tyler, how are you today?
Oh, good. Yourself?
Good, very good. Good to have you here today, Tyler. Okay, Tyler, I know that you have been in business for a long time, over 10 years. So, and you do retirement planning for your client.
We do, yeah.
Yeah. So my question, why do I need a retirement planning?
Well, basically, if you look at what's more important to you, your life or this building. This is a question one of my mentors asked me many years ago. Of course, your life is. Well, look, this building has a blueprint. It had a whole plan before it ever was built. Shouldn't your life have the same? That's why everyone needs a financial plan.
Okay. So another question here comes that here in Canada, I have a healthcare system, I have CPP, I have old age security. After all those things, why do I need a retirement plan?
Okay, very good question. Well, you look at CPP and old age security, the maximum someone who's retiring at 65 gets from those programs would be $615 for old age security and $1,203 a month for Canada pension plan. So total that's $1,818, and that's gross, assuming the full amount. Now, if people were not actually in Canada for a certain number of years after age 18, or if they didn't contribute fully to the CPP, then what would happen is you wouldn't even have that amount. And for a single person or even a couple, that would be a fairly tough lifestyle to live on. Most people I know, they're looking for a bit more than that. Not to mention, well, what if you wanted a lump sum? You can't take a lump sum out of any defined benefit pension plan, CPP or old age security. And do you really want to rely on the government to support you for the duration of your life?
My question, how CPP and old age security plan calculate and how much can I get when I retire?
Okay, well that's a very good question also. You can actually take CPP as early as age 60 and as late as age 70. So take someone who's getting $1,000 a month from CPP. The maximum is $1,200, actually $1,203.75 per month, assuming maximum contributions. But if they're, just say yours individually, you weren't qualified for the whole amount, for the easy number, we'll say you would get $1,000 at 65. Well, if you took that exactly 5 years early, you'd have $640. It would be a 36% reduction. And if you took it 5 years later, you get $1,420. Now I'm ignoring inflation and saying before tax, but you can see how if someone takes it early, they get a significant reduction, yet 5 years more payment. And if they take it all the way the latest you can take it, you get a significantly less amounts of payment, but you get 42% more, or more than double what you get if you start at 60. So what you really need to do is go back to your plan, talk to your financial advisor, talk to your family, and see what makes most sense for you. Regarding the old age security, you can't get that till 65. You can get extra if you wait till 70. You do have to be careful though of what's called the clawback, because the clawback, you can actually, if you're making a high income, after age 65, you can actually lose that, have some or all of it clawed back, or essentially what clawback means is you have to repay what you received back to the government.
What actually impact that inflation has here on CPP or old age security, or is there any any impact? Can you explain?
Yeah, very good question. So
Yeah.
CPP and OIS, they are indexed to inflation, but they're not guaranteed to be. So, for example, the government doesn't have to keep them going. And the one thing that should be said, I don't think it's an issue, but back in the 90s, there was talk about, was the CPP properly funded by the government? And there was actually a talk of replacing that benefit. Now, because of various reasons, it didn't happen. So assuming with relatively low interest rates and low inflation, I think the consumers right now can expect those to be indexed with inflation, which right now interest rates and inflation are quite low.
Now, today, the person who is retiring, getting, for example, let's say your calculation, $1,800 from combining CPP and OSC, right? So, what is going to happen? Someone who is in his 40 will be retiring in another 20 to 25 years, and isn't it that inflation over the time, let's say 10 years from now, if it jumped to 2.5% or 3%, who will have impact on their CPP? So if that case, is government has any plan in place?
Does the government have, so you're saying, will the government have a plan to increase the CPP and OAS?
Exactly, adjusted the, yeah.
If we look at what happened 25 years ago, they were actually supposed to, or going to, I should say, they had a proposed plan to replace the CPP and OAS with the seniors benefit. What stopped it? There were a few things that stopped it. One was public outcry. I think if they tried to change it too much, if we base it on history, there would just be like a mass reaction from the crowd. Basically, the people would say, "Hey, I don't want to get any less than I would in previous years." And the most recent attempt to change that was a few years ago in a previous government, when they were actually planning to phase it in so you didn't start getting regular CPP to age 67, but then they brought it back. So there always could be changes on that. So I think the consumer has to be aware. And the one thing I've told clients, especially young clients, if you really want to be safe, plan as if it's not going to be there. Because if you get to 65, it'll probably be there. It might have adapted or changed.
Yeah, my another question here, that besides CPP and OAS, a lot of people here in Canada, they have employee pension plan or deferred pension plan. So isn't it enough for those people to retire comfortably if they have those things in place?
So would it be enough if they had their pension plan? Well, the key is what type of pension plan. People can own real estate, but there's all kinds of different real estate. You could have a condo, a townhouse, a regular house, a mansion. Well, with defined benefit pension plans, many people who work for the government have the quote-unquote creme de la creme as far as pension plans go. They work somewhere for 35 years. They get a total of 70% of their salary. It's indexed to inflation, and they're pretty set. If you have a husband and wife that both worked in that kind of plan, as sometimes they do, then 70% of their gross income is going to be paid to them. However, some people don't have a pension plan period. Some people worked at an organization like that for maybe 5 or 10 years, which doesn't bill that much. And some have a defined contribution pension plan, which is really an RSP type, where you pick an investment, the employer may match you, you put in 4% of your salary, they put in a 1 or 2 or say 4% match, but you choose the investment, so it could go up, it could go down, subject to performance. So it's a pretty low percentage of people that can actually rely on their company pension plan. And by the way, when I say government, I mean they work for the government as opposed to CPP and OAS, but still very few people I see actually can rely on that. And as I said before, that doesn't include things like lump sums. Many people want to help their kids, maybe with a wedding, with a first home, and you can't just take a lump sum of a pension plan.
So my question, how much money do I need to have a moderate or a good retirement life?
Okay. Well, I get that question quite a bit, Shavik. And it really depends on you. Everyone's a little different. It's very hard to generalize. But the process that I would use, and most good financial consultants will use, is what they'll do is they'll say, where do you want to be down the road? And the key is, the more specific you can be, the easier it is to plan. If you, for example, tell me, I have a moderate lifestyle, I don't like to spend too much, that's completely intangible, very hard to plan for. If you were to say that myself and my wife, we need $5,000 net of tax every month, then we could work on that. We could say how much is expected to come in from pensions. Are there any lump sums that are expected, possibly an inheritance or selling land? Are there any lump sum expenditures that have to go out? What regular expenditures do you need? Are you going to need a new car every 8 years or so? Are you going to downsize your house? So that person, you can do those plans one of a couple ways. You can do what I call the manual plan, and that's a very basic level. So for example, if you had no other money in the world, no pensions whatsoever, and you needed $30,000 a year, and you had $500,000, you had an investment you thought could make 6%, then that would give you $30,000 every year without running out of money, no matter how long you live. Now, anyone who knows financial planning well will will listen to what I just said and say, well, how about inflation? How about taxes? How about a lump sum costs? Potentially someone dying prematurely? All that has to be considered.
So just here a point that when I said that how much money do I need to have a comfortable retirement life? So you said $500,000. Let's say that when I retire 15 years from now, and I have $600,000 by cashing my other investment or a real estate, anything. So $600, and if I invest the $600 with a 6% rate of return, I think 6% is very aggressive rate, but anyway, 6% rate of return. Do you think that that will give me a comfortable or moderate kind of retirement life?
So if you had $600,000, yeah, the first thing that we would do is we would do an assessment, because the interest rate's very low. If you were to invest that in a very conservative investment, it would be, you couldn't get 6%. You would have to invest it in something else. Our company actually has a program where we tend to suggest aggressive is 6.16%, conservative would be 3.84%. So there's various rates that, and different softwares use different things, but it's up to you, or we often recommend working with a financial professional. If you work with a financial professional, between you and them, you agree what's a good rate of return. You look at...
Well, when I will retire, I wouldn't have any mortgage or anything will be paid off, assuming that it will be paid off, okay? Or I'll downsize, right? And then, like if I have $600,000 in my account, probably with a CPP, with old age security that I'm getting, that $1,800, my wife with another $1,800. So it's together, I guess it's $3,600, right? So if I get $3,600, and then if I have $600,000, all cash out my investment and get 4% return on it, I don't know how much would be the return. So if I leave another, let's say, I don't know, another 25 to 30 years after my retirement, is this going to give me the life that I was talking about?
From what you've said, you'd be in the ballpark. To be quite frank with you, I do have a math degree, but I'm not quite good enough to do that all in my head and say yes or no. But what you do if you go through a comprehensive financial plan, which I recommend everyone does, is you say, for example, you are, let's say someone is 50 years old now and they want to retire at 65, they plan to live till 95. We usually based our plans on living till at least 90, Not everyone does live to 90, but if you do live to 90 or 95, you want to make sure.
If you do live up until 90, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We will take a short commercial break.